Chase Consulting, and I'm going to be interviewing Phil Chadwick of Stats Perform. Would you like to introduce yourself, Phil?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Phil Chadwick, Commercial Director at Stats Perform. We're the sort of global leaders in sports data. We distribute and collect our own proprietary data and distribute that to the sports betting industry, to broadcasters globally, and to market makers and now prediction markets as well.
Okay. Now, Stats Perform is upstream of almost everything. How has demand profile shifted as prediction markets have scaled up?
So, I mean, it has changed, yes. Sportsbooks have sort of taken the historical data, they've modeled that data, and so any odds that you would see on a sportsbook website, obviously, in order to get there, they have to model the historical data, and they have to look at the data that's coming up to that point, and then produce a probability of what's going to happen in said sports event. We then supply them the fixture data on top of that to tell them which markets to offer when, how to settle those markets, and then we can supply them even things like sort of incident data that's collected in real time from scouts in stadium, they collect it in real time. We're in 80,000 soccer matches a year, for example, in stadium, collecting the data in real time, distributing it out via APIs to clients' platforms in less than a second. And then from that point, they then sort of receive additional data layers that allow them to settle those markets confidently. And then when you go the next layer down to broadcasters, broadcasters require deep, accurate data to be able to speak with confidence and to be able to display information with confidence. And so the two things work really well together. The sort of money that we receive from sportsbooks and the fact that we get held to account so intently by having to settle things accurately, that allows us to have higher levels of QA, which then feeds into the broadcaster side of things. And the two married together then takes us onto prediction markets. The side of it where resettlements is such an issue, there's something that prediction markets really have a problem with and struggle with. And having someone like us that is a global leader in this, because we've sort of had that first mover advantage that we've kind of spoken about with Kalshi and stuff, and we've positioned ourselves now as the global leader. Our QA is just so high that people can't really catch us up. We've got to a place where...
Could you step back and give us an example of some of the really granular human collected data you all are gathering?
Yeah, so literally everything you can see on a sports pitch at any given time. So any event level data, like player X, or let's say player A, is in this XY coordinate of a pitch. They have passed the ball to this player in this XY coordinate. Or if that was intercepted, who it was intercepted by, where the XY of that was. Literally every key event that you can see. And then we've gone layers down from that now as well. So expected goals is kind of like the first sort of analytical metric, I guess, that was pushed out to the sports betting industry and to broadcasters that people have really adopted. But now we've got into the world of sort of through Optavision, which is our it's effectively a computer vision that looks at when a player's on the ball or when a player has possession, what the expected chance of them completing a pass to any given player that's within a certain range of that player, and then if they pass the ball to that player, what the expected chance of that leading to a goal is going to be. And the beauty is we're selling this stuff back to the clubs. We're selling this stuff out to broadcasters as well. It's going to start becoming hopefully more prevalent in the near future. But yeah, clubs are buying this stuff in order to help them acquire players for their teams, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, deep players.
Any major soccer events coming up that you all will be participating in?
Fantastic question. Thanks for asking. Yeah, so we're the official and exclusive supplier for the FIFA World Cup that's coming up now. So we're going to be in stadium for every event, collecting real-time data. We're going to be distributing really granular, deep data to all the broadcasters and media over the world. We're going to be partnering, well, we have partnered already with some of the key prediction markets, and you're going to start seeing basically any of the markets that they're operating and settling. We're going to be supplying the data for them to do that. But me, myself, I specifically work with market makers and exchanges. So I'm supplying the data to market makers so that they can manage their risk in real time, ensure that like the prediction markets are offering accurate prices at any given moment, and that they can manage their own risk as well. Because unlike the betting operators of the world, they can't introduce their own bet delays. They can't risk manage the people they're trading against. So they need accurate, fast data to be really telling them how and when to trade.
Could you tell us a little bit about the space in general? And like over the past couple of days, we've talked about just how competitive the space is and the advantage the British market makers have over the Americans because of their data. Could you kind of touch upon that?
Yeah, so this is a bit of a controversial one. Certainly, I would say in this room, but when I'm talking with any of the big HFT firms that are really dominating the space in prediction markets today, they think they've sort of got it locked, and they're going to continue to just make profit at an exponential rate. But ultimately, without being fundamental and without being sharp fundamental, they are going to get picked off when they're wrong. And this isn't a new industry. Prediction markets, as you touched on yesterday very clearly, aren't a new thing. You actually showed a visual of the Betfair exchange. I worked there for like 14 years. Most recently was responsible for liquidity and market makers over there. And the people that are operating in that space, like, they're not new to this. They've got really deep, sharp fundamental models they've been building for years. They're making hundreds of millions a year out of this, hundreds and hundreds of millions a year out of this, and betting into the world globally, and they continue to do it and continue to make profit. And once they get into these HFTs, into these prediction markets and taking on some of the HFTs, I think we're really going to see an impact.
Could you define HFT for the audience?
Sorry, high frequency trading firms. So there's some big names that obviously we can speak of, but yeah, like basically the finance bros that are operating in the space that don't ultimately need a deep understanding of the sport. A lot of them are looking for like odds data so that they've got a line to even know where to begin. The sort of syndicates, the historical syndicate sector that as it's previously known, but they're the same, they're market makers. They're going to come in and they produce their own prices, right? They're using our data, the deep granular data, to produce their own prices, and they're gonna spot when there are inefficiencies, when things are wrong, and they're really gonna hit the market quite hard, I think.
How far ahead do you believe the British market makers are ahead of the Americans?
I mean, I wouldn't just say British. This didn't spawn in Britain. It's definitely quite a global thing. I think where the British market has been regulated for betting for so long, and it's so part of the culture. But also, like Australians, there's some really big, impressive, incredible, market-leading syndicates operating that have started in Australia. But yeah, they've been collecting this for years. I would go as far as saying they're potentially 15 years ahead of where some of these new firms that are coming along are. And the only way you're going to bridge that gap is by acquiring incredible amounts of data, being able to harness that data, being able to model that data, and then be able to produce your own fundamental price and be very confident of where you stand on that.
Is that even feasible at this point?
Yeah, it's feasible. I mean, we've got almost 8 petabytes of historical data covering 26 sports. So if you want data to model if you bought a historical data set from 2015 for a particular competition, it's not going to serve you very well in today's world. But if you buy 2025, 24, 23, 22, all the way back to then, you can really start identifying patterns in how things have gone over time. And these guys, they've got the databases, like the existing syndicate sector or the market makers, they have this already. And so coming up to, like, if you want to try and challenge them, you're going to need to start harnessing some of that stuff that they already do.
Could you talk a little bit about how the data is being incorporated into the models?
Um, I mean, it's everything that sort of builds it from the ground up, right? So they will be looking at everything from player performance to when a player's on the ball in a specific part of the pitch, what decisions that player made at that given time, and how that's going to impact what the team does or how the team performs in the next match. Like the decision making at a very granular level, and the things that like sportsbooks have thought about as only player props, like how many shots has a player taken, or how many passing yards did this player have. But then you get more deep into that, and that all feeds into what the expected probability is of a team ultimately winning an event. And so yeah, that sort of granular depth is really where you're going to gain an advantage here.
So it's not even necessarily, and I say the British, but you know, you all are smarter than the Americans. You've been doing this longer and have much better data.
I wouldn't go that far. I'm certainly not. Not as smart as you, at least. But no, I think there's just going to be a big shift. I think we're seeing a world where I think the impression is that almost 95% of the prediction market space is sort of big HFT companies or these big institutions that are trading within the market. But that it does nothing without a recreational base. Like recreational retail betting flow has to come in. Otherwise, they're just going to cannibalize each other. And that, you're going to see it. We'll have lots of small firms that will come along. Some will be successful, some won't. Some will get chewed up by others. I saw it in my time at Betfair time and time again. People come along, they've got a model, it works, they build it up, they scale it, and then as soon as they start scaling it to make money, like serious money to actually survive on, it just tanks the other way. And I think that's because you like sort of like a lot of people are talking about here, you scale up and the other sharp people that you're trading against within that market, they can spot you. They start identifying, we've got someone material here, they're coming in at this time in this event. And so, yeah, there's benefits to that, but I think something that really gets lost as well, and this is something that if you're a market maker, it's really important to understand, especially specifically if you're trading in sports, it's not just about modeling the probability of things happening, it's about understanding the recreational flow, understanding when non-sharp money is going to be entering that market and identifying when that money is coming in and knowing to be on the other side of it. And that's something you can really do with sports. And you can probably do it with politics as well. I've got no doubt some of the politics traders here, and I know there's quite a few of you, you know when non-sharp recreational retail flow is going to be coming in after certain things are announced. And you see it in a stock market. Something gets announced, the stock price plummets or it rises, and every time it sort of goes, and then you get people follow it in, and it goes too far, and then bounces back up. And then it could go down again, of course, but there's always that like overreaction part, and then there's a bounce back.
Could you touch upon how AI is affecting the space?
I would say that this isn't new. Machine learning's been in trading in prediction markets, in betting exchanges for as long as they've really been around. You can go back to the days of people like Bill Benter or like Alan Woods years ago, sort of applying historical data and then modeling that to predict the future outcomes. Machine learning and AI, they're one in the same ultimately, and this is not new. These guys have been doing this for a long time, and if you want to be successful in this market, like you have to be implementing machine learning models, AI models, and that's going to do it. And to power that, you need accurate data, and that's where we come in.
Could you talk about the two people you mentioned earlier? I have never heard their names before and know nothing about them, so I'm curious.
Oh, so, I mean, God, you can Google it, I suppose, but no, they're both people that are, certainly Bill Benter is seen as like a deity for a lot of the people that have been in the sports trading game for a long time, been like quantitatively modeling sports. He was kind of the first person really, he kind of wrote the book on it, as it were. And he's still very well known today. I mean, I know he's active and he's trading globally. I've never met him personally. I know people that have, but he's betting through various different avenues and methods. I'm sure he's got his ways and means. And Alan Woods is, I mean, he was a horse racing trader from I think he was from Australia. I'm not too sure. Anyway, he was a horse racing trader. He kind of wrote the book on machine learning for horse racing trading, and the sort of the ongoing what he built is still continuing today. There's still people trading from the legacy from the business that he built, and implementing the sort of workflows and methodologies that he sort of set out several years ago. I'm going back like 30, 40 years ago now.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, so when was the period where sort of machine learning entered sports betting?
As long as there's been data to model, really. So probably, I mean, the in the horse racing world, you've got the totes that you can model, and they've been around for a long time. But as long as people have been able to systematically trade, that's how long it's been around, on a real serious scale. But if people have been able to build these models and implement them in the back end without needing sort of a platform to trade with systematically, they've been able to do that still, and that's where we used to have the historical syndicates, as it were, or the traditional handicapping type situation where people were placing large trades, but having an opinion and finding a way to sort of get huge trades off all on one go and take a large position, knowing that they're gaining 5, 10, in some cases 30% value, 50% value even, when you look at like horse racing and stuff like that, or golfers, or things with sort of longer prices, or even tennis players. There's been events in the past. I was speaking to someone here where there was an event and a player was going off at 400 to 1, and the price that they should have been was about 30 to 1. So yeah, that sort of the modelling in the background has been there for a long time. We're pretty much as long as the data's been available.
What's keeping the syndicates out of America right now? I'd say American prediction markets.
I think that they are making their way over. We are seeing it already. I know for a fact that like some are starting to make their way over. A big barrier to entry is having a location in the US, having a bank account in the US, getting your money into the US. Some of it is risk appetite, whether they want to be going into a market, certainly like Polymarket, where your name is public and they don't want to show their hand. These guys operate in the shadows. They don't want people knowing when they're placing bets and what they're placing bets on. So being able to sort of manage that and find a way to manage that, I think it's not holding them back, but it's keeping them it's just making them take their time. And obviously if they're going to invest all that time and effort getting over here, they need to know that it's going to be here to last. And at the moment, we still don't know if that's the case, I suppose.
I don't think anyone does. Could you, just going back to Stats Perform, could you talk about some of the different areas, sports that you're collecting data in?
Yeah, so we're collecting data in, I think it's 26 sports. And yeah, I mean, we're the official and exclusive partner for, as I said before, the FIFA World Cup, but we're also La Liga. We're also for the Women's Tennis Association, the ICC, the International Cricket Council, Cricket New Zealand, tons of other soccer leagues and various, and then we're collecting sort of player level data across multiple sports elsewhere, unofficially. And I think that's actually, just to sort of go on a bit of a tangent here, I think the world is quite heavily focused on what is official data and what's not, especially in the prediction market space at the moment. The CFTC have given some guidelines on people wanting to work with official data suppliers, or they want prediction markets to be working with them at least. And that's all well and good. And if we're the official provider, like I know we're going to be the best because we're the best anyway. But unofficial data collected can be just as powerful, if not more powerful. As I sort of touched on before, the amount of QA that we have and the level we go to collect data is so in depth that people like the NBA, who produce their own data and use another company to distribute that data, they've corrected their own data to what we collect. So yeah, and this isn't once or twice. Like, this happens all the time. People, these sports and governing bodies of sports, they are in control of their own data and just using distributors. But where we're proprietary, we're collecting it, we give them visibility of that data, and they correct their own data to what we do. And that's across, like I say, several sports.
Yesterday you had touched upon, just in a conversation with me real quick, about why the data quality was so high. Could you kind of explain that to the audience and your process?
Yeah, so the process is so let's talk about soccer. Soccer's the most traded sport in the world from a betting standpoint or a trading standpoint, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, the rise of NFL and stuff has been huge. But yeah, let's talk about our soccer collection as a Brit. Why wouldn't I? Let's call it football while I'm at it. But we would have like two guys. There'll be one in control of each team. They're like esports players. The way these guys move, they set tags to every individual player, and every action is collected and input in real time. So they're collecting that. Literally every action you see on a pitch is done. Anything that's contested, and as you know, like the pace of sports today, things aren't black and white. It does take time. That's why video assistant referees still don't get things right. We have then a third person on a 5-second delay screen watching back from behind. They will be applying quality assurance to all the work that's done in front of them. And then we even have like panels behind that. So like when a decision is contested, or not even a decision is contested, when something is not black and white in that specific moment, it will go to someone else and then they will review that, and that QA gets done, again, almost in virtually real time. It's incredibly fast how we do that, especially in the top soccer leagues. It's pretty remarkable, and we don't get things wrong often. Like, it's really, really, really rare that we get something wrong. And as I say, everyone else tends to correct to us. So yeah, it's incredible to watch. And I think we've got videos potentially on our website, I think, where you can see a sort of a process of how we collect that data. But obviously we don't go into much detail because we can't give too much away. But yeah.
Again, that seems like that would be very hard to compete with. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to leave with for the conference?
Let me think. So I think what I would say is the prediction market space is very new, but it's not new. In order for prediction markets to attract the recreational flow that the market makers and everyone are going to need, they need to improve the product on the front end. People currently feel like they're trading against institutions, and I think that's only going to grow. If you can empower those users, you can get data, you can put that data on your front end. You can empower the users to feel like they're informed and know what they're trading on. We've got a myriad of products to do that. We've got like a dynamic stats API that can literally be plugged into a specific market type. So if you're trading, if you're trading on something to occur in a match, you can have statistics that directly link to what that trade is, and make the recreational user feel informed, even though they're obviously quite a way behind the people that are able to harness large amounts of data, and giving them sort of visuals, things that they can track in real time and know what's going on in events, make users more sticky. And then from the prediction market standpoint themselves, settling markets efficiently, accurately, I think there's a misconception that markets can be settled. It's sort of commonplace for these markets to be settling several hours after they've taken place in prediction markets. Like, you're just missing out on so much cash. When we were at Betfair, this was an exercise we did, and it took time and time, iteration after iteration, to make sure we were settling markets accurately and quickly. And for every second that you're not settling a market and paying users out and paying them out correctly, you're losing that money because they're not churning, they're not re-engaging with your platform. So having products to sit on your front end, make users stick, make them want to continue trading, feel like they're informed when they are trading, obviously not giving away too much margin because they're on a prediction market. Like, all these things that sort of empower the user and make the user feel like they're ready to trade, ready to place a trade. I think that's something that needs focus.
No, thank you for giving us a peek behind the curtain. Does anyone have any questions for Phil Chadwick?
So even though our company's been going for, like 25 years, something like that, we still go back. I mean, I've literally walked through the office and I've seen people watching matches from 50 years ago on TV and inputting the data. We've got data going back to the 1800s in sports. Obviously not some of the deep player level data. We're only going to be able to go so far. But certainly, like, player statistics and things like that, things that were collected, we've gone back and we've dug through archives. We've purchased data from federations if need be in order to do that. And again, like I say, we go back and we watch things historically. How much that can be harnessed is a different question. It's more useful for, I guess, contextual information when you go that far back. But yeah, the deep data, we're going pretty far back now.